Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome to another video. Behind me is the Audi RS E-Tron GT. In this video, we're going to take for a drive, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to look at what £134,000 gets you. So if you like that, smash the like button. Please make sure to subscribe, and let's crack on. Okay, so let's start by talking about the color. This is a new color that Audi call Tactical Green. And if I'm being completely honest, I'm not sure the person who put this color together will be making any more tactical decisions at Audi anymore. I mean, let's be honest, it's not the prettiest color, and personally, I don't really like it. On top of that, Audi will make you pay $1,000 to choose it. However, if we look past the color and look at the styling and the design language of the RS E-Tron GT, it's a very, very good looking car and definitely has the same feeling when Audi first released the R8. It has that futuristic design which still holds true in 2022. And for me, this car is the same. Now, I know many of you will be quick to point out that this car has been based on the Porsche Taycan, and you're not wrong. But for me, I think the RS E-Tron GT looks slightly more elegant, particularly from this angle. The rear of it looks great, and as you expect from Audi, it kind of gives you that futuristic dancing-like sequence that Audi are known for, and I think that adds an element of elegance. The design obviously is aimed to reduce as much drag as possible, which is why you get that sloping roofline. It's there to make it as aerodynamic as possible. And I think it, as a whole, this looks really, really nice. Now, it's a big car, as you'd expect. And one of the things that's also pretty big is the fact that it comes with 21-inch wheels. And this specific model has got the 5,500-pound carbon ceramics added to it, which is a good thing because this car weighs in at 2.3 tons. That is a lot of weight and it shifts like a rocket. However, if something shifts like a rocket, you need to be able to stop it. Now, performance. If we talk performance, that's where this car gets exciting for me. If you didn't know by now, this is a fully electric Audi, and it's also Audi's most powerful RS car that they've produced to date. Its power can be a bit deceiving as it deploys 100% of its power when you do a launch control. Other than that, then technically it's not Audi's most powerful car. It's a bit confusing. Confusion aside, the RS E-Tron GT will do 0 to 62 miles per hour in just 3.3 seconds. It's very quick. However, just as quickly as it gets to 62, it will also need to find a charger because on paper, this car will do 284 miles. However, we also know for a fact that it's not going to deliver that kind of mileage on day-to-day driving, especially if you like to squirt the throttle every now and again. As you'd expect with a relatively large car and with such good performance, its battery, whilst its range says 280 and we know it'll do a bit less, it will take a while to charge. However, if you find yourself at a supercharger, this car will charge from 5% to 85% in just 22 minutes, which is extremely useful. And for the majority of us, when you're on the move, 22 minutes to charge is just about enough time to go and get a coffee. So in theory, the car works, the charging works. The challenge is finding the charger that will give you the kind of power output to deliver that 22-minute charge. The final thing to talk about, as I said at the start of the video, is its price. This car comes in at £134,000, and that is an awful lot of money. There's a lot of cars you can buy for that kind of money. However, in terms of design language, style and elegance, I think this is probably one of the nicest electric cars you can buy in terms of its aesthetics. But let's jump into the car, let's talk about the interior and go for a drive and see what it's like from a performance standpoint. So for a car that costs £134,000, you're going to hope that it's good. And I can report that it is good. And I'm going to show you just how good it is in terms of its driving dynamics and capability very shortly. But whilst I'm here, we might as well talk about the interior of the car, because for me, there is a lot of futuristic vibes in here. And I think Audi have done a very, very good job at modernizing what is effectively their fastest car to date, with the caveat. The seats, these RS seats are phenomenal. They are very, very comfortable. Loads of bolstering. Really, really good, because you're going to need it. Because this car here, whilst it weighs 2.3 tons, it is pretty agile to a point. It does get to that tipping point where you do start to see its weight. However, steering wheel, very, very nice flat bottom Alcantara. We've got a lovely mixture of Alcantara, carbon fiber style and piano black plastics in here. Everything feels and looks extremely premium. In terms of the comfort element, It rides so well for a car that is effectively running 21-inch wheels. You'd expect it to be a bit harsher. That, of course, is helped by the fact that this does have adjustable dampening. The rear seats is interesting. The rear, they've got kind of bucket style rear seats, and whilst this can hold 3 people in the rear, I wouldn't like to sit in the middle, because you think you'll end up getting those bolstered bits wedging into the side of your backs. So whilst it is a 5-seater, your best bet really is to carry 4 people in this tops, but you can do 5. Boot space is vast and it's very cool. You also have that kind of fancy stick your foot underneath the boot and it opens and closes if you're coming up to the car with your shopping. So really nice overall. Of course, everything else you'd expect from Audi. We get the virtual cockpit, we get all the other fun stuff that you expect to find from all other Audis across the range. In terms of visibility though, this is where it's a little interesting. Visibility on the majority of it is pretty good. However, out the rear, I'm looking at a letterbox. I can't really see much, but thankfully that's all resolved because I have obviously a reversing camera. Same thing for the A-pillars. The A-pillars, whilst they're beautifully lined with Alcantara, they are very thick, and because the mirrors are quite wide, I do find myself looking that there is a bit of a blind spot in there. The other thing which I find very cool and very futuristic is the sound that this car makes. I don't know if you can have a listen. You can hear that? That was a terrible explanation of sort of what it actually sounds like, but the interesting thing is that Audi has spent so long finessing that UFO sound, and I think with an EV car, more and more as we go into the future, they will be they'll be defined by their sounds as well. So I really like the sound. But onto the crunch stuff and why this car is Audi's fastest thing. Because of its power, when you punch it in launch, it's about 600 brake horsepower. So I guess we probably should find out. If I stick it down here, put it into stop. Oh my God. Yeah, that's 0 to 60 on paper 3.3. I think it's slightly quicker. That is so fast. And I mean, if you're ever in a position where you need to make an overtake in this car, your power is instant. Look, I'm doing 30, foot to floor, 60. That is ridiculous. The performance of this car is ridiculous. And you can see why it's got the £5,000 option carbon ceramics, because if I need to, I can slam the anchors on. And you need that with this car because of the amount of weight it carries. I do really like that sound, and if I'm honest with you, you know, if this is the future is good. However, oh my good Lord. The one thing for me that I guess is the challenge is the battery, because I think it's a 90 odd kilowatt hour battery, so it's quite large. It says it will get you 283. I mean, I've got, what is it, 78% battery remaining. It's only showing me 180 miles, so I think you'll only ever get near to that top end mark when you drive it really in comfort and you drive it like a granny, which, let's be honest, if you've got a car like this, you're just not going to do. I think this car for me also is a bit of a license loser. It's very deceiving. It goes amongst its business quite quietly with its little UFO sound, but it will be extremely easy to lose your license, and keeping the car at the speed limits I find quite difficult. It does have these little paddles here as well. I'll touch on those in a sec, but first let's take these corners, because the rear wheel steer on the RS E-Tron GT makes for the turning and the front end. I mean, oh wow. It's so lovely. It's very finesse. It's very easy to drive. And for a 2.3 ton car, you wouldn't think it's 2.3 tons in day-to-day driving. As I said earlier, you will get to some situation where you're pushing on and the back will start to feel a little bit heavier. You will start to feel that weight transfer. But for the majority of the time, with the rear wheel steer, it just makes for a great drive. These paddles, as I talked about earlier on, these paddles here, they're not to change gears because it's an EV. They are to effectively move up and down the amount of charge you want from when you lift off the accelerator. So I think that's a good thing. It kind of keeps some element of what your mind reminds you of from a combustion car in what you're looking at directly ahead. But as a whole, this car it's lovely. It's beautiful. The color, not so much. Whoa! It's ridiculous. It's like a theme park ride. If you've ever been to Thorpe Park, for those watching from the UK, Stealth, the ride, this is exactly how it feels like, except you don't have to queue for an hour and a half to do it. You can just do it each time. It's relentless. In fact, it will cause whiplash. I feel like my insides, each time I push that accelerator pedal, are being shifted to the rear seats. But it's not just about the performance. You can flick it back into the comfort mode, and I guess that's where, you know, we turn on the suspension, we turn the dampers on, we make it much smoother. The car coasts a lot more, it's not as ferocious, and it creates a very pleasant, luxurious drive, and that's what this car is as well. It couples performance, luxury, class, elegance, and it does a great job at it. Do I like this car? I like it a lot. I really do. As I said earlier on, I feel like the styling of this car for me is beautiful. I prefer elements of the look of this car to the Porsche Taycan, even though it is based on the same platform. And as a whole, this thing, yeah, it's a very, very good car that Audi have delivered to the market. So I look forward to seeing what other stuff that they bring. But for me, the RS E-Tron GT is a winner.